So, this is a big deal, and a lot of casters are talking about the meta shift, and a lot of people in the Overwatch sphere are talking about how Overwatch is fundamentally changing at the pro level. Um, in the case of that, Goats is is starting to adapt, and Blizzard has been trying to nerf Goats for a long time, and I think this Diva one, it's rough, buddy. It's rough. Diva has been nerfed over and over again, and the defense matrix is kind of the last straw for me, at least. I know I'm starting to move away from Diva, even though she's my main. Um, but at a pro level, we're starting to see Diva being taken out of the composition after um, after the defense matrix nerf came along. And I'm not talking about the one where it changed from 15 meters to 10 meters. I'm talking about the 1 second to 2 second one. And that's about when in contenders, especially in the Korean League and some specific Pacific, type stuff going on over there, where they saw a lot more relevance in the Sombra goats. And the ones that really sort of pioneered this whole play style, maybe not the first to ever do it this way, but the ones who truly, made it popular is Element Mystic. And what they did is change the way they played with the Sombra. Before, it was pretty much a goat and then a Sombra thrown in. And it would be centered on getting very valuable hacks, the same way you would want to get very valuable um, Ana grenades if you were running an Ana goat. So instead of playing around the hacks and trying to get a big hack on the Reinhardt, which was really easy to deny as, say, a Diva or even just a Reinhardt doing a 180, getting a bubble, a bunch of different resources to deny the hack from coming through, they started changing the playstyle into EMP centered. So instead of getting that really big valuable hack, they started focus on just building up that EMP as fast as possible. And I saw this first, I think by like O2 Blast in season 3 of Contenders 2018, and it blew my mind because not only did like the Reinhardt and the actual front line play super passively, but they gave resources to the Sombra as if that was the Reinhardt. So we would see the Sombra uncloak and then all of a sudden get a brig pack. Excuse me, right? That's crazy. So now this Sombra has an extra 75 armor over the normal 200 health, and then they would sometimes put like a bubble onto the Sombra as well, which is really ooh, my phone went off. It's a little bit too much commitment for me, in my opinion. I would think that a break pack is enough, and the bubble is making you a little bit vulnerable in the front line. A break pack can definitely help your Reinhardt, but a bubble is like a life and death sort of thing, and without it, you could absolutely just get run over. So, yeah, that's the starting point of this new Sombra meta, and we're starting to see it finally creep into the Overwatch League. And this is what's interesting. Before, everyone was praising sort of Ding and the Shanghai Dragons for being the beginning of the Sombra Goats in the Overwatch League, or at least the best. And in my opinion, yes, Ding is a very good Sombra, but I don't think um, you never really saw the peaks that Ding got compared to someone like on Element Mystic Doha, who was just famous for building up these incredibly fast EMPs and getting big value with them, with their team following up on those, like 6-man hacks or even just like 5-man hacks. So, really interesting stuff. Um, and I still think Ding was definitely based more in the hack Sombra sort of playstyle now, playstyle then, and now he's starting to adapt. But he's um, pretty much has some mechanical things figured out, but the playstyle has to be radically changed now that he has a different goal in mind. So, we started seeing this with other teams, and teams like the Outlaws and the Valiants are taking maps and even games off of some of the best teams in Overwatch League now because they are GOATS teams. NYXL, San Francisco Shock, the Titans are all GOATS heavy team that know exactly how to play the GOATS v GOATS matchup. But all of a sudden, they have to start, contesting with Sombra. And I remember in stage 2, San Francisco Shock were so confident against the Sombra, and they lost their first map to the Shanghai Dragons. But what most people forget was that wasn't a very heavy Sombra composition that was really struggling. That made San Francisco struggle against Shanghai Dragon. It was very Pharah heavy, actually, and sort of the Pharah had to be the carry pick, not the Sombra. So a lot of people seem to forget that fact, and now that the playstyle has changed, San Francisco really don't have the same answers. They can't be doing the same things. Choi Oben can't keep his thumb onto the Sombra anymore because now that Sombras are getting break packs and everything, the 1v1s against a D.Va and a Sombra tends to go in the Sombra's favor because D.Va has such a big hitbox. The defense matrix nerfs are so huge, and now just the 2-second nerf itself is so huge. And when the next patch actually is implemented into the Overwatch League, it's going to be really easy for Sombra to realize, hey, defense matrix is up right now because it's big and it's glowing and it's very obvious. And honestly, something I've noticed in that new 10 meter patch for D.Va is not only is the visual way easier to see, but also it feels a little bit smaller, not just in length but in width, because a lot of people can see the edges of the defense matrix now, and they can kind of shoot like under it and hit your foot, or if you're slightly angled to the left or right, they can hit the side of your mech, which is sort of broken. Blizzard, please. Anyways, back into the Overwatch League stuff. D.Va has gone from countering and suppressing Sombras into Sombras countering D.Vas, and like having a D.Va on the enemy team in this meta of Sombra is just like heaven, man. It's such an easy ult battery to farm if you can get off the hack, and even if you can't get off the hack, the best they can do is defense matrix and fly away, or get support, and their team has to put resources into the D.Va, which is something they don't want to do. So fascinating matchup changes. I know I'm saying like fascinating stuff, like this is actually really cool how much the meta is changing from in the 1v1 one play style difference completely changes who has the advantage in that situation. So now we're going to see a lot more Sombras contesting the point, and they're going to stay there longer because they can now. So that's really cool. They're going to build up EMP very fast. But we also see a change with the Zenyatta, and especially the team. So a lot of the time we tend to think about the Ana to counter the Sombra GOATS composition because they have no D.Va, so you can throw grabs and especially anti-nades and sleeps just willy-nilly, and you don't have to worry about it being eaten. You just have to worry about bubbles that can cleanse the anti and just shields blocking it. So it's a lot easier to get the nade off, but isn't extremely consistent because there is 2 shields with the Brigitte and Reinhardt and bubbles that can 1 block it or 2 cleanse it, which is not something you want as an Ana. What we're starting to see now is instead of the people against the Sombra GOATS, is the people with the Sombra GOATS now having Ana on their team. So they're taking away the Zenyatta and they're putting an Ana, and this is for a few reasons. One, it makes their offensive ulta way more impactful. In the Sombra GOATS, you want to be trading off 2 major ultimates just about every fight. You want to be trading off the EMP, and then after that you want to be trading off the Graviton Surge, and they sort of feed into each other, and that helps the snowball effect happen, especially on longer maps like payloads or even just a 2CP. the hack just gives free ult charge to the Zarya because she can just beam down whatever she wants at high energy, get a lot of ult charge, and then vice versa. You know, the Graviton, hey, look at all these big meaty targets just sitting there waiting to get shot. Sombra gets an off angle or gets behind them and just sprays in, gets the next EMP super fast. The same way that in the very, very old Death Ball meta, you would want to use Shatter so the targets on the ground can get farmed by the Zarya, and the Zarya throw Grav, and then Reinhardt can swing into the Grav and get their Shatter back really fast. It's sort of that snowball effect that we're seeing once again prop up, and the Ana enables both of those ultimates, the EMP and the Graviton Surge, because on the EMP, 95% of the time, this is just me just spouting out numbers. There's no statistic I have, but it'd be a very interesting one to actually find out if I had the details. But when an EMP is used against a GOAT or a Sombra GOAT's team, you're going to hit the Reinhardt, you're going to hit the Zarya, and you're most likely going to hit the Brigitte as well. Those are the three targets that you almost always hit. And what are the three enemies I just talked about against the Ana that made the nade so hard to land? That's right, the Reinhardt shields, the Brigitte barrier, and the Zarya bubbles, not including, you know, the Diva that we're just assuming this is a Sombra v Sombra matchup. So when the EMP goes off, Ana can just immediately throw nade, and guess what happens? Transcendence is completely worthless, gets nothing done, and actually is a detriment to the team because all of a sudden they can't change Discord targets. They might not even have a Discord target because he's probably hiding, and a lot of damage will be taken away from them as they try to retreat, which is a huge deal. And that's why we're seeing a lot more Ana being played in these Sombra v Sombra GOATs matchups, because Ana just gets so much value from the actual nade on EMP, and it denies the Zen ultimates. But also in the Graviton Surge, it's just so easy to just walk forward and put a nade in, or just get an off angle and throw it and just hit everyone in the Grav. And something that used to be an issue with the sort of Sombra GOATs that I've always noticed, and I thought was like the weakest aspect of the Sombra GOATs matchup, is that Graviton Surge was a lot of times not enough to actually swing a fight. They would have to combo it with EMP itself, which completely destroys the ult economy and you don't want to be doing, or you would have to get the pin off. And there's a lot of different counterplays to the pin. If you don't have projected bubble, then the Reinhardt's probably going to get booped. There's a sound barrier, transcendence. You might hit the transing Zen. You might pick a target that will survive, and then they get break pack, and then the transcendence will heal them right back up, or whatever it might be. There's a lot of different counterplays to the pin, which, you know, it's still a very powerful tool, and it's still better than the Diva bombs of yesteryear. But you know, it was inconsistent, and now that Ana is in the meta, she can get around. If she can get around the Reinhardt shield, it's a pretty much guaranteed fight win onto the Grav if they're all EMP'd as well. Because even if they get a sound barrier in the Graviton Surge, they're gonna have to be backing up, because that sound barrier is gonna be decaying as they're getting hit with like Brigitte swings and right clicks from Zarya and all these different things, and they can't get healed once the barrier is gone. So, you know, if you get naded, no matter what, you cannot be aggressive in that fight, especially out of the Grav. So if they counter Grav and they get naded, they can't aggress into the Grav like they normally would. So this is just a huge economy win for the Ana team, because they can neutralize ultimates with just a grenade. And you can get out two ultimates from the enemy team, like the Grav and the Transcendence, or maybe the Grav and the Beat, to counter your first Grav, and they will still lose that fight, or at least it will come out to be even because the Ana nade landed. See, this is so huge that not only Sombra's playstyle has been changing to be way more aggressive, but also that the Ana is being implemented with the Sombra, because the Zenyatta is becoming less and less relevant in the actual battles with goats and the Sombra goats matchups, and also how it completely destroys the old thought process of ult economy. So it's so fascinating to see all these little things that are changing at the Overwatch League level, and Overwatch League is a little bit slow to change. You'll see a lot more change in the contenders region, and I tend to criticize the change in contenders region just because all of it's good. Just saying. Um, but to keep it focused, Overwatch League, Sombra Play, is changing the game. I think that's going to be the new meta, and I can't wait to see the new adaptations for all these different plays. My next prediction, actually, is that going to be Zarya is going to be the one hiding around corners. Not, like, actually hiding to make sure, like, it doesn't get hit the same way as Zenyatta used to, where he's just staring at a wall. But she'll be like right clicking around a corner, just kind of jiggle peeking, and hopefully she doesn't get hit by the EMP, because if she doesn't get hit by the EMP, the nade will come out, hit the Reinhardt, and then she can cleanse. Boom, she can cleanse the Reinhardt of not the EMP itself, but of the anti-nade. So I think that would be the next logical adaptation to this game style. Maybe they would do the same thing with a Lucio, so he could speed boost in, get his teammates back, and use the boop to stop the actual EMP rush. But, you know, just really fascinating adaptations going on in the Overwatch League. And I have a lot to say on the Sombra Goat stuff. That's most of it at the moment, but I would love to, you know, continue to do research and find new things. I have a lot of interesting ideas on the Sombra, Winston, and Diva, like, kind of composition that has 3 supports. I call it the Sombra dive goats, because it's sort of dive, it's sort of goats, and people don't really understand how it's played, so I can definitely talk about that. I can talk about that Hammond composition that's going around, where it's like the Pharah, Hammonds, and the Sombra Doomfist. I have a lot of different topics to really rattle myself off on, so if you want another sort of just me yelling into the microphone about how cool Overwatch League is, then, you know, definitely tell me. And if this gets no views, I don't really care. I just want to make some content, and I'm super excited to get these ideas just out there. Even if no one's listening, you know, the tree still makes noise. Does that make sense? I was referencing that one literary question: if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, will it make sound? Well, I'm saying it does. All right. How do you end a video like this? This is weird. Just gonna drink my Pepsi, and then click my button. All right, thank you guys.